Welcome back to another episode of Stacking Dennys. I'm Jordan McAbee of RotoBaller. My co-host Nick Giffen of the Action Network. Tyler Reddick in victory lane at Kansas Speedway gets the third win for that 45 Toyota for 2311 Racing in the last four races. His owner, Denny Hamlin, getting the other win during that span. Reddick locks himself into the second round of the playoffs along with Kyle Larson. And speaking of the playoffs, that's going to be a lot of what we have to talk about in this episode because championship favorite Martin Truex Jr. had trouble at Kansas, very early issue, finished dead last. We talked about this on last week's episode. What if he runs into problems at Kansas? He is now 7 points below the cut line, and Bristol's not that good of a track for him. We could see an early elimination of Martin Truex Jr. I will say, though, spoiler alert, I have put a bet on Truex to win the championship this week because Superbook moved it to 10-1. If he advances, I love that bet. Obviously, I think there's a decent chance that he does not advance. But sticking with Kansas, Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, Eric Jones round out the top three. Kyle Larson, Joey Logano sneaks in there with a top five finish thanks to a two-tire stop at the end. Chase Elliott, the bet that we gave on the show last week, plus 140 for a top 10, finishes sixth. Kyle Busch comes from the back, finishes seventh. Christopher Bell started on the pole, only led 15 laps in typical Christopher Bell fashion. Did not do much from the pole, finished 8th. Keselowski and Alex Bowman rounding out the top 10. 86% on Jeff Gluck's poll, 86.4, said that Kansas was a good race. We typically see good racing there. Nick, do you agree outside of, the tire issues that once again plagued the Kansas race? We saw Truex have tire issues. We saw Chris Buescher have a late tire issue, that changed the outcome of the race and kind of hurt his playoff chances. A few other guys with tire issues. Do you think that plagued the race? Do you think that's just part of what we have at Kansas? We didn't really see that in the first Kansas race from what I remember earlier this year, but we did see these tire issues in practice and in the actual race come into play. But overall, do you think that was a good race?
Yeah, thought it was a totally fine race, and I'm not worried about the tire issues. Same tire we used earlier this year at Kansas, so I know there was talk that teams were just being aggressive with pressures and cambers and things like that. So just one of those things where, every once in a blue moon we have these kinds of weekends where tires happen, and exact same tire as before. At this exact same track, so I can't blame Goodyear. I can't blame NASCAR. To me, that seems like it's on the teams, and that's just one of those things. And it happens. It wouldn't be racing if there wasn't the occasional tire issue anyway. That's just part of racing. And Truex's was like a puncture. Like his actually just hit something right at the start and just straight up punctured it. So even that one, I can't really say I have any negative feelings about because that's just. He hit a piece of debris that was probably so tiny you couldn't see it, but it made a tiny hole, and that's all it takes to deflate these tires sometimes. So that's just how it goes in racing. But I thought it was a good race. Don't think it was as good as the first Kansas race, but I still thought it was very entertaining. I'm a little annoyed that Chase Elliott didn't have a better day just because I had him 30-1 because he had a very good car, but once he lost track position thanks to his pit crew, he just couldn't quite get it back. And I don't necessarily think he had the strongest car, but he had a top 2 or 3 car, and it just didn't end up that way. End up that way for him based off of his pit crew costing him several spots a couple different times.
Speaking of Chase Elliott, when we kicked off these playoffs, we talked about who's going to finish 17th in points. He is already only 6 points back from 17th in points.
Yeah.
7 races
Impressive.
less than Ty Gibbs, and he almost has as many points. So, yeah. Great run there by Chase Elliott. Denny Hamlin, another guy I bet on top 5. Was glad to hit that at plus 140. I didn't actually get to watch the race in real time once again this week. So opening the results once the race was over, I was like, hell yeah, this was a good betting day. I needed one of those. So, but overall, Larson led the most laps. No surprise there. Larson had a rocket in practice. He's always good at Kansas. He should have won the first race. Hamlin's always good at Kansas. How much were you surprised by Eric Jones up there, finishing third?
I was surprised at how good he was, not because he's not good here, just because he was so high up. Like, he was legitimately just running 6th or 7th, things like that. I was expecting more like, a 12th place that could turn into a 5th or a 6th based off of the late strategy stuff we saw, but it was more like a sixth or a seventh that turned into a third or a fourth type deal based off of the strategy stuff. So definitely impressed. And I wasn't worried about practice speed or anything like that. I mean, all he did was run a 5-lap average. We had no idea how he was going to be on the long run, but typically he's pretty good at Kansas and at similar tracks here, especially with some tire wear. So not surprised at all by Erik Jones having a strong day here.
I feel like, that team is definitely, last year they won a race. They showed decent speed. I feel like that team's came around this last month. Especially with Hocevar getting in that 42, he got another top 20 finish.
20s, yeah.
That's very impressive for that team, and and people I see tweets every weekend now with Hocevar and the results he's getting. They're saying it's not the equipment, it was still kind of the equipment. This car was junk the beginning of the year. They have gotten better, and you can tell that with Jones too. Like Jones is getting better. So the 42 is also going to get better, and obviously Hocevar is doing the most he can with that car, and it's significantly better than what Gragson was doing. But a guy that kind of had a surprisingly disappointing day, and I don't know if he had an issue or not. William Byron did not get any stage points, ended up 15th. Was there anything noteworthy there that happened to him, or because he had that issue in practice? They had that part break, but was he just slow or what?
Yeah, there was something. I can't remember exactly what, but there was something at some point that kind of set him back. But overall, he wasn't able to recover. Real quick on Erik Jones, I'm still a little curious because remember earlier in the year when they said that team was bad? Well, they were bad on the shorter, higher downforce package, but they were good in the intermediates. Well, look at their good tracks they've had recently: intermediate package at Pocono. So
yeah,
I think the performance increase may still just correlate with intermediate versus higher downforce packages still. He did get 11th in New Hampshire, which is interesting, but overall I think it's just they're better in the intermediate package than they are in the higher downforce, short track, shorter flatter track, road course type package. So speaking of that team though, Legacy Motor Club, Noah Gragson, who was fired, has now been reinstated by NASCAR, so we'll have to see where he ends up next probably after this season. In the off-season, we'll probably hear something about him.
Yeah, you have to think he's going to probably get an Xfinity ride there. Won't be back.
I wouldn't be surprised if he ends
year.
up in one of those college cars because I think both of those seats are open.
That would be an organization that would take him too. Take the bad boy or whatever you want to call it.
I mean, remember he did run that part-time season for them. I think it was with Hemrick and Allmendinger last year.
Mm-hmm. I did see there's a rumor going around that Hemrick's going to be back in Cup next year. And please, I want to see this again, please.
Oh dear. Yeah, that's a free square on fading most weeks.
Yeah, but overall, not too many other surprises here. Looking at the race results. Ross Chastain finished 13th, Blaney 12th, Harvick 11th. Stenhouse struggled, finished 23rd. Michael McDowell, I think, had another issue, if I remember right. He finished 26th. And then Bubba Wallace basically now, his one very good track at in the first round, Kansas. Finished second in stage one, but I think he was another one of those guys that blew a tire, right?
Who was it?
Bubba Wallace. Or did he get caught up in a wreck?
I don't remember what happened to him. He had something happen. I remember. Yeah, he did lose a tire. He was like, I had no indication or something like that. And then he was kind of annoyed he didn't, realize it sooner and just kind of ride the outside wall or something. But, I mean, nothing you can do when you blow a tire. So Bubba's, he's a little hard on himself, but at the same time, he also realizes it's not his fault, even though he still was trying to be hard on himself. And I liked that interview. He was joking around about Tyler Reddick at the end, and people took it way too seriously, but he was just having some fun. So, thought unfortunate result there for Bubba Wallace. He doesn't have to win, but he needs a lot of problems for others in front of him in a strong day at Bristol to get through.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about Bristol extensively here because a lot of people can have issues at Bristol. We saw it last year. We've seen it over the years. It's not that hard to – you have one small issue at Bristol and your race is done because it's a half-mile track, 500 laps, like you're screwed. So definitely, the playoff picture, this is exciting. This is exactly what we wanted. previewing last week for Kansas, this is exactly what I was rooting for. I wanted Truex to have issues. I want there to be drama in these playoffs, and it's looking like that's going to play out here at Bristol this weekend. Obviously, Chris Buescher winning it last year. Christopher Bell had a super fast car there last year. Larson always a contender at Bristol as well. But, going back a little bit to Chase Elliott, he's been, making the rounds on social media this weekend. Thanks to that little run-in on pit road and subsequent, run-in on the track with his teammate Kyle Larson. I know I have my opinions on this, but I'm really curious what your opinions on this are and whether, I just want to hear your opinions on this.
Who cares? Who cares? It's not interesting to me. He thought Kyle Larson got into him when he shouldn't have, and then, so he retaliated. He had no idea that there was another car below Kyle Larson, and then you find out later, and it's, okay, my bad, whatever. It's a non-issue. I don't care. I see people on Twitter being like, well, Chase Elliott made an issue because he retaliated against his teammate on the access road or whatever. I don't care. It's nothing. It's literally nothing. Chase has no issue with Larson. Larson has no issue with Chase. It's just what happens when you get 4 wide on pit road. You kind of just get squeezed and have nowhere to go. Chase couldn't see the car to the left of Larson, so who cares? It's non-issue. I don't care if he retaliated to his teammate. He barely hit him. Like, it was more like a, the hell was that kind of thing. There was no damage. There was nothing wrong. Non-issue.
Yeah, it's the what ifs. That's what people always like. Well, what if he would have cut his tire? He didn't. I'm not even sure that there was actual contact that when Chase Elliott, swerved. I think he was just saying, hey, I didn't appreciate that. But, as far as Elliott not knowing that was the issue, I think this is another thing, just like last week when we talked about with Kevin Harvick. How does his spotter not say, hey, the reason you just got ran into is because you're going 4 wide on pit road and you can't go 4 wide on pit road? Yeah. But is it, then again, does his spotter know that suddenly, in my opinion, Chase Elliott's become a bit of a hothead after what we saw at Charlotte with Denny Hamlin, and now this, he's kind of acting like a little entitled prick, and you kind of have to control that when you have those emotions.
I don't know if I agree with that. Obviously the Hamlin one was dumb, but I don't know if this was entitled prick. This was, hey, somebody hit me, I'm going to show my displeasure. We see that all the time. I don't have anything wrong with what Chase Elliott did.
Do you think? Okay, well, I'm not gonna throw hypothetical in there, but that could have been a big issue.
I don't really see how.
What if Larson wasn't locked into the next round?
But he was.
I'm just saying, what if Elliott does that in the championship race?
He's not going to do that to his teammate in the championship race. I'll guarantee that. If his teammate's in the championship race, he's not doing that.
That's just. I said I wasn't going to throw hypotheticals out, and I still did. But
no, it's not an issue to me. I don't care. That was such a minor thing in the grand scheme of things, and people are making it into something that. Who cares? I give 0 craps about that incident. None.
Yeah. Do you think this? Do you think Chase Elliott is losing his fan base a little bit?
No, I don't. I don't think there's any indication of that.
Or do you think it's or maybe turning away the guys that aren't Chase Elliott fans even more?
I think there could be some of that. I definitely think there could be some of that, but they already weren't. If they already weren't fans of his anyway, it's not really. I guess he's not endearing himself to them, but
right.
he already hasn't won them over, so it's not really a loss.
Well, I'm just kind of, to put this all together, for how many years Kyle Busch was always boo, boo, boo. Now all of a sudden people are cheering Kyle Busch. The guy getting the most boos at driver intros now is Denny Hamlin. Mm-hmm. Denny Hamlin was not loved, but nobody really had an issue with him for a ton of years. Now all of a sudden
until he ran into Chase Elliott, now everybody hates him.
Yeah.
See?
So
I don't see that exactly, and that's another reason why I don't think Chase Elliott fans are getting sick of Chase Elliott. They're still booing the hell out of Denny Hamlin.
Mm-hmm. But no, I like it because my beef with Chase Elliott has been for a while. Have a fucking personality.
Yeah.
You know what's a personality? Bumping your teammate after getting bumped on pit road and bumping them back and saying I didn't appreciate that. So I like that. And
I like I said, I didn't mind it. And the other thing about it is like it's a misunderstanding. He has no way of knowing. Larson understands that Elliott had no way of knowing. So Larson, you hear Larson's interview afterward. Larson's like, yeah, he had no idea I had a guy below me, so I understand. Like Larson wasn't mad about it. Chase was annoyed about it in the moment. Finds out later, oh yeah, maybe I was annoyed for the wrong reason. All good, and that's how it should be, right? Like Chase has no reason to hold a grudge, and I totally believe him. Like he's not mad about it. It's just one of those things that he didn't understand the situation, and now he does.
It's a lot different when you're watching on TV and you see the replay. You see all the cars. You're not in the car. You think,
Chase Elliott cannot see through Kyle Larson's car. There, he can't.
Right. Yeah. Before we get to playoffs talk and this next cut race, you got anything else left from Kansas?
No, I mean it's kind of wild. The 45 car won again. I saw an interesting fact that there have been 3 drivers employed in the 45 car full time, not counting Ty Gibbs, who was part time, and all 3 of them won at Kansas. So, that's pretty neat. And the other one was the team owner, like you said, Denny Hamlin. One other thing from Kansas. We had, for the first time all year in the Cup Series,
6-9.
The 69 challenge. Brad Keselowski completed the 69 challenge, finished 6th at Darlington, 9th at Kansas.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm penciling him in for the win at Bristol. He's my pick.
We haven't talked about that in a while. That's awesome. Hey, he had a good car last year.
We had one, and I can't remember if it was Truck or Xfinity, but we had one there. I think it was Cole Custer. Obviously, Kyle Kirkwood in IndyCar was the first to do it this year in any of the major series. So Brad Keselowski becomes the first Cup Series driver to accomplish that this year.
You need to tweet that out to him now. Just be like, congratulations to Brad Keselowski for completing the 6-9 challenge.
He's in the 6 car too. So and the 9 car finished 6th.
That's funny. Yeah, the 6 car finished 9th, the 9 car finished 6th. That's funny.
Nice.
I wonder how many times that's happened.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, man. All right. We got playoffs to talk about because this is going to get interesting. I'll tell you that. Right now, Larson, Reddick locked into the next round. Denny Hamlin, William Byron, both with Byron has 49 points. Or Hamlin has 49 points. Byron has 41 points to the good on cut line. Keselowski's looking pretty solid, plus 33. Blaney, Kyle Busch, 24 and 25. Then it gets interesting. Ross Chastain, plus 18. Chris Buescher, plus 13. Christopher Bell, plus 13. Logano, who was your pick as a surprise miss for these playoffs, plus 12. Kevin Harvick, plus 7, who's been very good at Bristol as of late. And just overall. Martin Truex Jr., who has not been good at Bristol as of late, or really overall, below the cut line, minus 7 from the cut. Bubba Wallace, minus 19. Stenhouse, minus 22. And McDowell basically needing a win at minus 40. This is going to be a crazy race just based on what we saw last year. A lot of power steering issues last year. A lot of just overall, issues overall in last year's race that can really affect these drivers. Like I said, you cannot make a mistake at Bristol. You can't have a mechanical issue at Bristol. Obviously, you cannot control mechanical issues. Chris Buescher in victory lane here last year. Christopher Bell had the fastest car here last year. And Keselowski was strong as well. Do you okay. First, let's start here. Martin Truex Jr., 10-1 championship. You think that's a good bet? Obviously, I said I bet it. Do you think that's a good bet right now?
It's a good bet if he gets through. The question is, does he get through? But honestly, if he has a clean race, I'm not saying a good race. I'm saying a clean race. I think he makes it through because somebody else ahead of him inevitably will have an issue. So as long as he has a clean race, I think he's fine. And last year Bristol finished 36, but the year before he finished 7th. If he has just one of those performances, finishes 7th, maybe picks up a stage point or two. Doesn't even have to. He's through. So I think it's a good bet if he makes it through. The question is, will he make it through? And to me, yeah, he's going to make it through if he has a clean race. So I'm totally okay with that. One other thing I wanted to point out, kind of back in reference to Kansas, it was absolutely massive for Joey Logano to do that two-tire stop there at the end, because that picked him up 10 places or something like that. I mean, he was outside the top 10. He was in the teens.
Yeah, I think he said they were a 15th place car, yeah.
They were, and he picked up 10 points there. You know, if he doesn't have those 10 extra points where he is, 2 points ahead of Martin Truex Jr. instead of 12. So that was a massive call for that team. Joey Logano stealing 2 very solid finishes at Kansas this year, a 6th and a 5th, when he had 15th place cars at best in both of them.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, Truex probably, if he has a clean race, which is nowhere near a guarantee for him at Bristol, but if he has a clean race and someone ahead of him has an issue, he can get in. Who do you think of the people ahead of him is most likely to have an issue here at Bristol? Like I said, Harvick's always good here. Christopher Bell was the fastest car here last year. Chris Buescher won the race. Then we got Chastain, who's 25 above Truex, and then Logano. I'm going to assume you're going to say Logano, but Logano's 19 above, or no, 12 above. Sorry, Chastain's 18 above. Logano's 12 above. You think Logano's the most likely, probably followed by Chastain, second most likely to have issues?
I think Logano is the most likely. Just being stuck in mid-pack is never a good thing. I'm not going to say Chastain. I'm going to go with, for second or third most likely, I think it's kind of a toss-up for me between Christopher Bell and Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch always seems to have issues at Bristol. He either seems like he's winning or dominating, or he has an issue at Bristol.
Yep.
That's just kind of his MO at Bristol.
Yeah, so
and
look
Christopher Bell, that team they always find something wrong to do. Whether it's driver or team or mechanical or whatever, something always seems to bite Chris Bell.
I've talked about this before on this show. Christopher Bell, no matter if he wins the pole, if he looks the best in practice, he never goes out and dominates, ever. He never goes out and dominates. He led 15 laps at Kansas. He had a fucking rocket ship all weekend. That's the MO with Christopher Bell. And like you said, they always just find issues. Like that, he finished 8th at Kansas. There's no reason he should have finished 8th. He should have been a top 5 car. Going back to Kyle Busch at Bristol, you look at the last 13 races here. 3 wins, 6 top 5s in the last 13 races here. So 6 top 5s, last 13 races. Every other single race, 20th or worse.
Mm-hmm.
There's no in between. Kyle Busch does not come in and have a 10th place finish. He finishes top 5, he wins, or he's 20th or worse. Like this is, including last year.
That's what I was saying. Like the dude he either seems like he has one of the best cars or he has issues. So that's why I'm throwing Kyle Busch, Chris Bell. I think I might have said Buescher by accident. One of those. Chris Bell and Kyle Busch are like my 2A and 2B on most likely to have issues this weekend.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I'm throwing Ross Chastain in there just because I hate Ross Chastain.
Exactly.
That's my personal. They're running the intermediate package this week, correct? I think I saw that somewhere.
Yes, they are. They are running the intermediate package, which is, I think, obviously a positive thing for Eric Jones kind of deal. But, Ross Chastain, he finished 6th here at Bristol last year. He finished 14th with Ganassi in that other full-time season. So this is a solid track for Ross Chastain. Obviously, that team's been down a little bit, but they're still a top 13, top 15 car at worst these days. Especially once they went to Darlington and Kansas, 2 tracks really good for them. Bristol, another track really good for Ross Chastain. So I expect the top 15 performing car. Doesn't mean that's where he'll finish, but I expect the top 15 performing car for Ross Chastain.
Mm-hmm. Going back to, we made our predictions for who would be out this round of the playoffs back before the Darlington opening race. You said Bubba Wallace, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Joey Logano, Michael McDowell. Right now, the 4 out are Truex, Bubba Wallace, Stenhouse, McDowell, with Logano right there on the fringe, as is Kevin Harvick. You sticking with that? Those your 4 out, Bubba Wallace, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Joey Logano, Michael McDowell?
Yeah, sticking with those 4. I don't see any reason to change it other than the fact that it's Martin Truex Jr. down there and he's not good at Bristol, but Harvick is. So it really comes down to Truex, like I said, having a clean race versus maybe a problem for a Logano or a Bell, or if it's only somehow Kyle Busch, I could see Kyle Busch maybe somehow missing out. But I'm just going to say that Truex makes up 12 points on Logano somehow, some way.
Mm-hmm. One thing to note, I think, definitely for Truex as well, is, and just JGR in general, they had a lot of mechanical issues in this race last year. Toyota did overall. Ty Gibbs had a steering issue. Truex had a steering issue. Kyle Busch blew an engine. Mm-hmm. Bubba Wallace had an issue. What we've seen, I feel like this year, is, and with there only being one repeat of these, and Bob Pockrass was asked about this earlier today too, was, do these issues get fixed? And he basically said, we have no way of knowing until the fucking race starts.
Exactly.
Because we have not been here in a year. Who knows if they're fixed? So Goodyear is bringing a new right side, I believe, tire to this week's race compared. It's going to wear a little bit more. But we have no idea if these power steering issues are gonna be fixed from last year. And if we've learned anything this season from last year, a lot of the same stuff is happening. A lot of the same drivers that were fast last year at these tracks are fast this year at these tracks. Like, we're not seeing huge gains. We're not seeing huge losses from a lot of these teams. You know, obviously some of these teams regressed, but overall, the people that were fast last year are fast again this year. So that adds another layer into the mix. If Joe Gibbs Racing and Toyota in general has another issue with mechanical stuff, that puts Christopher Bell, that puts Martin Truex Jr., obviously Bubba Wallace, who's below the cut line right now, and maybe even Denny Hamlin, even though he does have that 49 put-in advantage. Like, he really can. It's going to take a lot for Denny Hamlin not to get to the next round.
If Denny Hamlin wins a stage, he'll have 59 points, and that means he's guaranteed to go through, because somebody else could only grab 59 points because there would be 10 and 10 for stages and 40 for the win. But since Denny Hamlin captured one of those stages, only 59 points left. And I'm pretty sure he would, not guaranteed, but, I guess the other person would win, and Hamlin's best finish in this round would be second. So not guaranteed, but it'd be like 99.9% sure Denny Hamlin will go through as long as he just wins a stage. And so, I mean, even if Denny Hamlin's a major issue, it probably has to happen really early in this race, like before the end of stage 1, for him to have a shot at not advancing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Denny Hamlin's probably in. William Byron's probably in. I think Keselowski's probably in. Like, it's going to take something catastrophic for him not to be in. I definitely think it gets.
We saw those catastrophic things last year, though. You know.
I know.
Last year was crazy. So, I would say nobody through Keselowski is safe. And I feel really, really solid about those top 4, though. I mean, obviously Larson and Reddick are through, but I feel very, very solid about Hamlin, of course, and then I think Byron's 99% through as well. Maybe 98%, let's say.
Right. Speaking of Reddick, he's through to the next round. We've talked about him before is he a legitimate championship contender? Does his win at Kansas affect your thinking there at all of him being – he obviously has the upside, but is he a legitimate championship contender this season now that, he's got that win?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Enough to bet track for him. I don't know. It depends on what his odds are. I haven't looked, honestly, but
I want to say they're 12.
Let's look at these different rounds. He won Texas last year. He could win the Roval, so next round's really good for him. He obviously can win Homestead. This is one of his best tracks, and he finished second at Phoenix last year. Finished third this year. So yeah, why not at Phoenix?
Sorry, I'm trying to pull up championship odds here.
Biggest threat for Tyler Reddick is Martinsville in that last round. If he has a bad race, maybe at one of Las Vegas or Homestead, Martinsville's not a great track for him. But he's kind of setting up well to get to Phoenix.
Wouldn't that be something if 2311 came through and won the championship this year? That'd be.
Tyler Reddick bumps Denny Hamlin for the win at Phoenix, knocking his team owner out of the way.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I don't even know what would happen then. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I want that to happen now. I want that to happen so bad. Or Denny to do it to Tyler. Either way. But I think it'd be more funny if Tyler did it to Denny.
Yeah.
Now, I'm rooting for that to happen.
I'm so happy that Truex had issues at Kansas, though. Because you look at the last...
I'm not. I had him, what is this, 14 or 16 to 1 to win the championship?
The last... I'll go back. The last 20 or 19 Bristol races. 2 top 10s for Martin Truex Jr.
Mm-hmm.
A 7th place and an 8th place. He had that 7th place after starting on the pole, led 5 laps. And that
started on the pole and led 5 laps at Bristol.
Yeah.
Oof.
And then
Oof.
His 8th place finish was when he started 3rd in 2017. He led 116 laps that race. So he actually had a good car.
Actually, yeah.
But
yeah, since he joined with that Kevin Harvick head-to-head that we tweeted about it, both you and I.
So here's a bet for you guys to make.
Truex has, in the past 16, which is when Truex moved to Furniture Row, which was the team he ended up winning the championship with. So like when he moved to like really good equipment, that was the same year Harvick moved to Stewart-Haas. Since that year, Harvick has 13 wins and 3 losses versus Truex at Bristol head-to-head, including 12 of the last 13.
Right. So for those that don't follow us on Twitter, Bet365 has Harvick versus Truex minus 115 on both sides. Nick and I both bet that today. So there's your bet for this weekend's race. Kevin Harvick over Martin Truex Jr. minus 115 on Bet365. Obviously, if it's anywhere else out there and it's better odds, I'm going to hit it again because I'm that confident in this head-to-head. And I don't really bet head-to-heads, but I definitely think without issues, just head-to-head, Harvick is that much better than Martin Truex Jr. at Bristol.
I love betting head-to-heads, man. They're so profitable. I don't bet them enough, honestly, because we all like chasing the big one, but really we should be padding our bankrolls with more head-to-heads.
You know what I love betting?
What do you love betting?
Top tens. Those have been my bread and butter this year. You know how much money I made off of top tens this year?
No.
It's been like the majority of my wins this year have been top 10 bets. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I hit a lot of top tens this past week. That's for sure. I've been like down for about the past month and a half or so, 2 months, pretty much every week. I think there's maybe one profitable week in there, but it's because I'm taking a lot of long shots, and I just have that mindset. I love taking long shots because there's value in them, and when you take 20, 30, 80, 100 to 1 shots, and you do it time and time and time and time again, you're bound to go through a cold streak, and that's just going to happen. So, hey, I'm on a cold streak. I've been on worse ones, and we'll rebound. Thankfully, I've had a few good top tens hit and a few other head-to-heads hit to kind of not make it the most disastrous of all time month and a half or 2 months, but certainly hasn't been ideal for me this year. I shouldn't say this year. I mean, I've been profitable this year. I started off up like 50 units, but definitely cut into those 50 units over the past couple of months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you've had those massive wins on Kyle Kirkwood this year, so.
I wasn't even talking IndyCar, yeah.
I think you're doing all right.
Just Cup Series. Yeah, no, not worried about that. I'm up like 300 units just on Kyle Kirkwood wins this year. So, doing okay there. But feeling all right about that.
Yeah. As far I'm ready to talk Bristol if you are. Actually, we got to do wine about it, don't we?
Yes.
Wine about it. We're going to get to that right now. Presented by Luvabella Winery, which, by the way, Stephen Malazzi this week. I'm leaving for Bristol tomorrow. Leaving tomorrow morning. I'm heading down to Bristol.
I so wish I could be there. I have Bet What Happens Live for Action Network during Thursday Night Football, which, I'll be live right around the time that Malazzi is, I would say, getting halfway through that race in the lead.
Yeah. So he will. Spoiler alert: we're trying our hardest to get him on the show next week. We should be able to get Stephen Malazzi on here to talk about Bristol, to talk about his experience with getting Outback as a sponsor, and obviously Stacking Dennys has been, and Louisville Winery has been partners with Stephen Malazio this whole year. And, yeah, I'm excited to get down there. I've never been to Bristol before.
You'll love it. You'll love it.
Should be awesome. My dad and I are heading down tomorrow. So, yeah, I'm excited. I told Malazzi I'm gonna be the first one in line at Food City for his appearance, and I fully plan on being that. I'm walking in there as the doors open.
You gotta get me some extra signed merch. I've got nothing signed from Malazzi. My favorite driver has never signed anything for me.
But I'm gonna let you go first on wine about it because I don't have wine, so I need to get wine. So I'm gonna let you go first while I go get wine.
I'm gonna open this wine. It is the Sweet
Rosé.
This yet? I don't think I have. I may have had it with one order before, but if I have, I don't remember, which means it wasn't super remarkable for me. But I guess I'll just retry it if I have, because then I don't remember. So yeah, it is the Reds brand Sweet Rosé, 13% alcohol by volume. So I'm gonna open the cap here. It's one of those. I love wine with twist off caps. Corks are nice, whatever. But it's so much easier to do a twist-off cap. So we're going to do the wine ASMR, twist-off cap, pour, and sip. Oh, I love that sound. Nice little ASMR sound there. All right, we're going to pour the wine. And we have to give it a taste test before we get into wine about it. So... oh, man, that is so good. I actually really like this one. This is good. This is really good. I really like that. I'm not a rosé guy. I really like that. That is good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Definitely on my list to order for the next batch. I like it. I like it a lot. A little, not like sweet. It's not a sweet wine, but it has like a fruity sweet taste, if you know what I mean. So... yeah, I think it's fantastic.
If I remember it, it's quite light,
light, sweet, fruity, rosé, really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really have a wine about it. Obviously, think people making a big deal of the Chase Larson stuff I could whine about, but we already talked about it. So, and I thought Kansas was fine. I think we all could obviously whine about NASCAR bringing back these, stage cautions for the Roval. I think that's the obvious one to whine about. So I'm going to whine about something different. I'm going to whine about IndyCar and NASCAR throwing the green flag within 5 minutes of each other. These two series are the two premier series in North America for racing. And it would benefit them. We see how well that Indianapolis weekend went with all the different NASCAR series, the IndyCar series, the Indy Lights series, etc. That was such a great crossover weekend. We've seen that for 2 years in a row now. Why these sanctioning bodies, and I understand it's all TV and money driven, but why can't they emphasize how much more important it is to at least stagger these starts? Even if there's overlap, why can't we have one of them be half an hour earlier and the other half an hour later to give us an hour of staggering? Preferably stagger IndyCar earlier and NASCAR later of the two, because then once IndyCar finishes, you can watch most of the rest of the NASCAR race. Whereas, if you stagger NASCAR earlier, they're going to end around the same time as IndyCar, because typically IndyCar races are shorter. Not always, but typically. So it's just absolutely the most frustrating thing, because race fans are race fans. Yeah, there's a few who are very territorial. I'm only a NASCAR person. I'm only an IndyCar person. I'm only an F1 person. But that's the minority, the vast minority of fans. Race fans are race fans. They love watching racing. And when both of those series are on head-to-head, you know what it does? It draws viewership down from both of them. And I understand NFL is on, and so there's even going head-to-head against NFL. And I'm not worried about that. I've seen people be like, well, we should end the season before NFL starts for NASCAR. No. We've been running against NFL for 5 decades. No, we're not doing that. We're not ending the NASCAR season when NFL starts. I understand IndyCar had their last race when NFL started. It makes a little more sense for them because they're a smaller series, smaller car count, smaller race count. But I do think IndyCar is going to eventually extend back to where they were, where they ended in October back in the 90s and 2000s. So I think we're going to get back there with IndyCar. So that's the NFL isn't the issue. The issue is you guys going against each other, starting 5 minutes apart. Literally, I looked at Bob Pockrass's green flag time tweet, and I looked at Eric Race Review's tweet for IndyCar green flag time, and they were 5 minutes apart. Unacceptable, frustrating, because I love both series, and it's really hard to pay attention to both at once, and then let alone especially during NFL season. But even that aside, just communicate. You guys, I promise, will both do better if you communicate and find ways to maximize viewership across the series and work together, because race fans are race fans.
I agree with that. And the thing is, though, I don't think they want to work together because they do look at it as competing, and they both want the premium time slot that they think they're in. So I get the frustration, but I also get their side of,
Well, I don't think
it's exactly why we don't start races at 1 p.m. anymore.
Well, I don't think they're trying to be adversarial about it. I think they're both, I don't think they're working together. I agree with that. But I also don't think they're being adversarial. I don't think they're being intentionally like, I got to infringe on NASCAR's slot or I got to infringe on IndyCar's slot. Because what that ends up doing is drawing both down. I think it's more just, this is what works better for our TV partner and this is what works better for our other TV partner, and they happen to be at the same time. But, man, you can't even find it like half an hour earlier for one series and half an hour later to give us an hour stagger. Really? Just so frustrating. But I get it. I get there's a lot of things, a lot of parts and pieces that go into it. I understand it. But I truly believe it'd be better for both series if we could stagger these starts more than 5 minutes apart.
Right. Yeah, 5 minutes is... And I don't know how often that happens, but it seems like it doesn't happen, super often.
It seems like for IndyCar especially, like you're going up against NASCAR and NFL for your final championship race of the season. Plus this year, the championship was already decided going into it. Nobody watched that race. It got like a little over 500,000, which is the second lowest viewed race of the year for IndyCar, not counting the Peacock only race.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's interesting. 5 minutes, yeah. But it is what it is. I get the why about it though.
Once again, Kyle Kirkwood lasted not even a turn because all hell broke loose in front of him, and then somebody plowed into him from behind. Nothing he could do. One of those years for him, but hey, 2 wins on the year in his second year. First year with Andretti Autosport, second year in the IndyCar Series. Looking for even bigger and better things in 2023 for my guy. Plus 300 units, Kyle Kirkwood.
Plus 300 units. It's awesome.
Had to throw it in there.
Yeah. All right. In honor of Malazzi's next start and
let's go
the purple Stacking Dennys Ford from Martinsville, I'm drinking some Purple Rain.
Gotta go classic
this night. Yes, and if you've listened to this podcast, you know how much I like this wine. This is the wine I recommend to everybody to try out of RotoBaller. It is my favorite. It tastes like Welch's grape juice, except it has 13% alcohol, or 13% alcohol. Like it's insanely good. Very good wine. I'm defaulting whining about it here because I'm irritated about it, and I know everybody else is whining about it. But changing the rules for the Indy or the Charlotte Roval to bring backstage, what the fuck? Just come out and say. I didn't even. What was their reason? Because I remember,
reason. They didn't the 2 long green flag races we had back to back with Indy and Glenn.
I think they came out and said say the quiet part out loud, though. There were some things that we could do differently going back to the caution stage breaks that would potentially make our races better. We had the option to pull that lever. Elton Sawyer, who's the director of competition or whatever. Just say you want the fucking manufactured drama of restarts, because that's all you want. You want all those cars barreling into turn one and hoping you get a wreck fest like we saw at Charlotte Roval the first or second time we were there.
Yes and no, because then they moved the restart zone, which is a whole other issue. But they're trying to prevent that, and I actually think they're going to make it even worse because that restart zone is ridiculous what they're doing. But I do think they're trying to create more drama while doing it without stacking up the whole field and wrecking everybody. Because they think they're doing it better by moving the restart zone and making it better, but actually it's making it, I don't think, any better. I think had you pulled this at Indy or Glen, it would be much more fine because you wouldn't be getting those like crazy stacked up mayhem restarts because you moved it at Indy, which actually caused normal restarts. But at least it creates that drama of close competition once again for a few laps and stuff like that. So you're right. They're doing it for the manufactured drama, but I don't necessarily think they were hoping a bunch of cars would pile into each other. But I think that move to move the restart zone is going to make everybody pile into each other because that is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. If there's a whine about it, even more than the stage cautions, it's that restart zone. I think that's going to be a problem.
Well, it's a massive disadvantage for the outside line.
And for the cars that haven't gone through the chicane yet, because those guys restarting in the chicane are going to get up speed, and then all these others have to kind of like cluster fuck up.
Oh my god!
Chicane while they're trying to accelerate. It makes no sense.
And obviously, we'll talk about it the week going into that, but that's going to affect betting. That's going to affect DFS because all of a sudden, track positions are going to be even more important. And I don't understand that at all. I don't understand. I understand why they're doing it, but just come out and say you want the fucking caution.
I don't understand accelerating into a chicane for half the field, right? It's just going to be the biggest accordion effect cluster of all time. But to your point, the stage cautions, 100% just manufactured drama. And I think they were trying to alleviate it with this restart zone, and I think they're going to make it worse.
You know what's crazy is we've had what? The races this year, the road course races this year that have not had the stage cautions, everyone after them has been like, that was good. That was a good race. And then all of a sudden they're like, nope, we're going back. What the fuck? Why?
I know. Makes no sense.
It's so stupid. And, Chase Elliott, I saw an interview with him today, and he said, obviously they didn't like the race going green at Watkins Glen. Why? Because it played out naturally and the best cars finished up front? Who would want that? Why would we want that when we could have Joey Logano stealing a fifth place finish at Kansas?
There is a section of fan base that didn't like those races because you can't pass on those tracks and the cars are too hard to wreck, etc. And the drivers are too talented now, and there's no mechanical issue. So there are people who just think the product sucks at those tracks. But if you look at Jeff Gluck's poll for Indy and for Glen, especially Indy, great results. So the vast majority of people liked it. I know there is a section that, because I know some of them personally, that absolutely hated those two races, turned the TV off and didn't watch the rest of the race after a handful of laps. But I thought those races were awesome.
Yeah. We all know why they're doing it, and if you're going to do it, just come out and say why you're fucking doing it. That's my point.
But
why about it?
To that point, though, the bigger issue then is the cars. If you want more passing, if you want more whatever, we got to make the cars harder to drive. We got to make them fall apart more. You know what I mean? We got to make them have incidents because these drivers, they're not the drivers of 20, 30 years ago where they made a lot more mistakes. Sure, they still make mistakes, but very often the mistakes are because they're all restarting in a big clusterfuck. But once they get strung out, these drivers are just not making mistakes. These cars aren't hard to drive. So we need to change the car. And since that's not going to happen, NASCAR's fix, NASCAR's Band-Aid, is to manufacture drama with stage cautions.
Yep. Which... it is what it is. We'll deal with that when we get to it. Whine About It Part 2 for me, just a minor one here. NASCAR tweeted out today, round of 16 after 2 races and kind of updating each driver.
Oh, God.
Why the fuck they did not put these people in the order that they currently are? They put them in the order that they started. And I get what they're trying to do. So they had, the playoffs where they started, and then after Darlington, and then now. But this is the most confusing graphic I've seen, and I understand numbers very well. And it took me a little bit to fucking look at this graphic and be like, what the hell are you trying to convey? I have a very simple rule in life when it comes to what businesses need to do, what marketing effort needs to do. Make it as simple as possible. Make everything as simple as possible, because you know what? Think of how dumb the average person is. I use this analogy so many times. Think of how dumb the average person is, and then realize that half the population are even dumber than that. You can't throw fucking graphics out like this and expect a good response. Now, I will say this thing has 112,000 views right now, but most of it is first comment on there. Who the hell created this hot mess of a graphic? There's no rhyme or reason to how anyone's listed. Another one is just like screenshotting parts of it and being like, what is this? Like, how do we order a stats graphic? Alphabetically by current standings? No, the standings at week 1. Brilliant. Like, God, whoever made this, like, they're either trolling everybody to get this thing to go viral, which congratulations if that was your goal, but I can guarantee it wasn't.
No.
But this is all fucking like, oh man, what are you doing?
The only issue I have,
stop making things so complicated.
The only issue I have with your analogy is it's not the average person, it's the median person. Unless you're assuming a perfectly normal distribution, which I don't think the human population IQ is perfectly normally distributed. So, median population, remember that half the population is dumber than that.
I'm gonna have to change my explanation here. So now
I'm just being an annoying ass, because I thought it was funny.
The best part is my girlfriend hates when I bring this up, and now it gives me another reason to bring it up and be like, by the way, it's not average, it's median.
Yep, exactly. So, I mean, by and large, in really large numbers, in distributions that aren't too crazy skewed, average and median, for all intents and purposes, are the same thing. I'm just being annoying because I can't.
Wait, so you actually don't think that the average of the entire U.S. population compared to the median for IQ is the same, relatively the same? With that large,
I don't think the distribution is normal. I think there's probably a skew in one direction or the other. I haven't looked at it, but I don't think it's perfectly normal now.
Huh. Okay. Anyway, before we get off on too much of a tangent, since we tend to do that a lot, Wine About It presented by RotoBaller Winery. Make sure you check them out. Link always in the description. Yeah. Link always in the description. You can get them shipped to you. They are supporting Stephen Malazzi this week in Bristol, as is Outback Steakhouse. I haven't been to Outback Steakhouse in so long. We are stopping there on the way down to Bristol tomorrow. Probably stop on the way back. Might stop while we're there.
Dude,
Support Outback Steakhouse. If you go to Outback Steakhouse because of that, tweet it, tag Outback, let them know that you're supporting Malazzi this week in that 22 car. Hopefully he's able to get a good finish, run a good race. I'm excited to get down there for Bristol. And
dude, I had Outback earlier this week. I got the steak and lobster.
Yeah.
Had some broccoli and some rice with it. A+.
I love Outback. That's always been my favorite steakhouse is Outback.
Yeah, it was really good and
big
super happy to of course support Malazzi. I wrote a big note on the receipt and was like, "Your driver's driving in Bristol this Thursday. Make sure you put it on at Outback."
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen with my show and Bet What Happens Live in terms of like the timing with the race. I don't think I'll be able to get over to Outback. But if I could, I'd be like, I'm planting my ass right in the front of the bar, making sure they have the race on because the Outback truck is driving. But also, like you said, I think it's at Food City. You're going to be first in line. RotoBaller helped set that up. RotoBaller Wines helped set up that meet and greet with Malazzi. So make sure you, if you are in Bristol, go check that out.
Yeah. Food City, they have their wines in Food City, so go in there and support the supporters of this podcast and the drivers that we support. So, standings, playoffs, Bristol.
Yeah.
Exciting. I love Bristol. Anybody that doesn't like Bristol doesn't like racing.
I agree.
As we said before, we both have one bet in. Kevin Harvick minus 115 over Martin Truex Jr. at Bet365. If we're betting it this early in the week, we like it that much. So if it's still available, make sure and you like following our picks, we are definitely on it. So there we go. But overall, let's take a look at the odds this week. Kyle Larson, the favorite at books, plus 550, the best you can get him at DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, BetRivers. Byron 9-1, Hamlin plus 825, Christopher Bell 9-1. I'll tell you who's catching my eye though, and I want to know if you're on this with me. Chase Elliott 12-1 at BetRivers.
I love Chase Elliott here. I haven't bet it 12-1, mainly because I haven't run a model at all for it because it's NFL season, and so Monday I'm doing bad beat luck rankings. Tuesday I'm doing regular luck rankings. Wednesday I'm doing luck ranking matchups for NFL. So yeah, I'm not going to get to running models here for a little while, but I do really want to look at Chase Elliott 12-1. Yeah, he's good here. He's been running a lot better, and he's super motivated to win, as you saw this past week. Ran really well, and just seems motivated to win. He wants to not have a winless season. I also think Kevin Harvick, of course, doesn't want to have a winless season. Great shot for him to accomplish that. Brad Keselowski doesn't want to have another winless season. Great shot to accomplish that here. So it's gonna be a fun race. A lot of drivers who can win this one.
Here's another interesting matchup. I just noticed Micah Roberts has 3.45 units on it. Chris Buescher over Martin Truex Jr.
It's minus 110. I don't know why he took minus 115, but it is minus 110 at Westgate. Micah Roberts, I think, I don't know, but I believe is in the state of Nevada. But this was actually pointed out to me in the Action Network Discord. Buescher minus 110 versus Truex, and I like that just as much as I like Harvick minus 115 versus Truex. So right there with you. I actually was talking about it with PJ Walsh. Like, man, if we like Truex or sorry, Harvick over Truex, I think we gotta like Buescher over Truex just because that team's been as good or better recently, and this is a great track for RFK Racing as we saw last year, and as we saw this year at similar tracks, and now heading into Bristol, they're as good as they've ever been.
And obviously they won the race last year. Yeah, I'm betting that right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna check Superbook and make sure it's still minus 110, but
it is.
I'll end up betting it if it's minus 110 at Superbook.
It is for me anyway. In Ohio, Superbook, Ohio. But
yeah, Superbook, Ohio, and Westgate Superbook, which is where the original Superbook lines come from, they're 99.9% the same. I think I've found maybe one or two discrepancies this year. But yeah, I see 110 right now. So I'll bet that after the pod. I'm not worried about it moving. Westgate takes enough action that they're not going to move it at this point at the night for what I would assume. I'm not talking me, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think there's going to be enough action for them at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time on a Tuesday night to worry about needing to bet it during this podcast. So, but yeah, I love Buescher over Truex as well.
Yeah, I know how this weekend's going to go because, like I said, I've had a pretty good last couple months of betting. Truex is going to win this race. Truex is going to win this race. Harvick's probably going to finish.
I was
second.
actually laughing about that. I was like, I was literally thinking about before we just started talking about these head-to-head bets, like Truex is going to win this race.
Yeah, Truex is going to win this race. Harvick second, Buescher third, and that's
what it was. I was like, there's a lot of good drivers who need a win or whatever, and I'm like, which means Truex is going to win.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't want to have winless seasons, so Truex is going to grab the win. Yeah.
I'm fully on board with a lot of matchups that you can find versus Truex and taking the other side. He's not good at Bristol, and yes, they've been fast all year, but I'm not there on them. Like,
you know what's funny? I don't see a single Joey Logano match at Westgate. So that's frustrating because I love Aiden Logano. There's probably some at some books somewhere. I just haven't. I am behind the 8 ball on NASCAR this week. DraftKings doesn't have any versus Logano. I didn't see FanDuel matchups when I checked earlier today. I didn't see BetMGM. Hadn't even posted race lines when I looked earlier today.
Sorry, you're looking for Logano versus Truex?
Or just Logano matchups in general.
So 365 has Logano versus Reddick.
Oh, God, I'd destroy the shit out of Reddick on that one.
He's
Assuming
minus
the
one,
price isn't...
minus 125.
Yeah, I like Reddick there.
Sorry, I don't care what you say about Bet365. Their app is garbage. It just froze on me, so I have to reload it here. Let's see. Bubba Wallace versus Ty Gibbs. They got Ty Gibbs at even money. Yeah, they still got Harvick versus Truex. Chastain versus Blaney. Hamlin versus Larson. Buescher versus Kyle Busch.
It's an interesting one.
Elliott versus Byron. Kez versus Bell.
I like all those matchups. Like, I think they're all pretty fair, except the Truex one, and then probably Logano
Right.
one.
Yeah.
which is good. I mean, that's the one we want to take advantage of. So, but yeah, I think they're all the other ones that you mentioned are pretty fair. So besides head-to-heads, one thing I've really been looking at, and shout-outs to Caesars for coming up with some interesting markets. They have qualifying head-to-heads this week.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you're looking at qualifying versus race head-to-head because they're all under the same umbrella on the app/website. They also came up with number of Toyotas to finish in the top 10, number of Chevys to finish in the top 10, number of Fords to finish in the top 10. But, and you know me, hate betting on qualifying, but Stewart Haas Racing had all 4 of their cars qualify in the top 11 last year. Thinking about sprinkling for qualifier, Ryan Preece. Oh, looks like somebody must have hit him since I looked last. Where the hell is it? I don't even see Preece on here now. He was 150 to 1 earlier today for qualifying. He's literally not even offered right now for qualifying. Well, that's an odd one. They just took down Ryan Preece off the qualifying odds. So somebody must have hit it. But I don't see Chase Briscoe. Oh, Chase Briscoe's moved down to 20 now. He was 75 earlier today. I was like, yeah, I need to bet that. And Almirola is 22. He was the pole sitter last year. So somebody jumped on those Stewart Haas odds. So, well, forget about that. They literally don't even have Preece on the board anymore for Caesars for fastest qualifier. And
I'm seeing.
Oh, there he is. He's 40 to 1. 40 to 1. Yeah, he was over 100 to 1 earlier today. So, bummer.
Where did you see the number? I haven't looked at these. Number of Fords in the top 10. That's interesting.
Yeah, all the way down at the bottom there.
Huh.
I'm not that bummed that I missed out, though, on these odds.
Over
because,
under
honestly,
3.5.
For which one?
For Fords. With the over at minus 140 and the under at plus 105, I feel like we rarely get 4 Fords in the top 10 this year.
I agree. Although last year, Keselowski and Buescher were awesome here.
Yeah, but
which is 2 Fords and Harvick. Yeah, 4 Fords finished in the top 10. Wait.
Oh, shit. I had 2022 up. Well, yeah, that was 2022 last year. There was only 3 Fords in the top 10 last year. And it was, Chris Buescher, Cole Custer, and Harvick.
Yep.
Cold custard.
Final stage results. Yeah, Buescher, Custer, Harvick. Because Harvick stupidly pitted for no reason, remember? But then 11th was McDowell. 12th was Keselowski. Well, I don't remember what happened at the end, but Keselowski is one of the best cars that race. So it's kind of weird.
Briscoe, who was running top 5 a lot of the race. You know what I hate? I hate Caesars Sportsbook app. This should be my whine about it. But So like, you probably can't see my phone here. So for number of Fords, they have over in the top position and under in the bottom position.
Yeah.
And then for number of Chevys, under is in the top position and over is in the bottom. Why
That's
do
dumb.
you do this?
To confuse people.
It is. It's predatory. If we're being honest, like they need to go on to catch a predator because that Caesar Sportsbook has predatory practices. God, I should shut up. Oh man, but yeah. So Larson, the favorite. You agree with that?
Yeah. I think he's the best here. Obviously, he didn't have the best race last year and wasn't the fastest car last year, but overall he's been, I think over career, has been the best here.
Yeah. He's plus 550 at most books. Betfred has him at plus 600. So if you're looking for maybe a little bit more there, if you'd like to bet Larson, Bet365 also has him at 6-1.
I'm curious about something. Let me pull up my data here. Just found a market that I'm very curious about. Curiosity killed the NASCAR analyst. You know what's a great bet? Oh, wait. Never mind. Fuck that. They don't have a no side. They only have a yes. Race to go to overtime. I want the no. Because the last time a Bristol race went to overtime was the first race in 2015.
Interesting.
And they're not offering a no, of course.
It makes sense, though. Because typically, when you get a final restart, they're usually clean. Like, they'll race.
Yeah.
Huh.
Frustrating. I want to know on that. Give me the no at like minus 175.
Who's offering? Is it Caesars?
Caesars, yeah.
Typically, they have the no.
They haven't lately. Last few weeks, they've not had a no option.
The super boost on Caesars right now is Truex top 5 finish plus 270.
They always pick the worst. I noticed they intentionally pick the worst ones to boost.
Truex
Every
has
single time, I'm like, I don't even like that guy. They find ones that like nobody likes, and those are the ones they boost.
2 top 5s in 32 starts at Bristol. 2 top 5s. He has also led a grand total of 287 laps here in 32 starts, which I'm pretty sure Kyle Busch has led that many in one race here before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he led 415 in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
God, what a dominating performance.
Yeah, no, Truex 2 in 32. That's 1 in 16, which means plus 1,500. If that was his long-term average, would be fair odds on that. And they're offering it at what? A boosted plus 2 something?
Plus 270. Man,
What a
give me the
fucking
no
joke.
on that. Give me the no.
I know. Give me the no on that. I'll take the no at minus 3. Minus 350. These books offering these one-way markets is bullshit.
Hate it. You think we see, Buescher last year was an underdog that came through and won this race. You think we have a chance of seeing that again? Like, obviously anything can happen at Bristol. I guess who do you think is most likely to come out with a good chance of maybe stealing a win here? Who has a good record here? Eric Jones.
I was going to say
Jones
Jones
this year.
I would say Jones, Briscoe, and Stenhouse are the 3 that catch my eye as like potential long shot winners. Do I think any of them will happen? No, but I think all 3. This just feels like one of those races where Chase Briscoe just has a great race and somehow potentially steals a win. So I want to find some exposure to Chase Briscoe somehow. It may be just betting him 100 to 1 at Caesars. I wanted to get his qualifying 75 to 1, but kind of was like, oh, I'll come back to that. I got all day or whatever, and then that number's gone. So
I'm very interested to see what Tipico drops Eric Jones's top 10 at, because they typically go a little bit longer. Right now, I think he's plus 270 at Bet365. But 5 of his 10 starts here have ended in top 10 finishes. 4 of his 5 top 10s have been top 5 finishes. So definitely someone, and like we talked about before, he's been very good in this package. Now he struggled here last year in this 43 car, but I'm definitely interested in potentially betting Eric Jones as a top 10 this weekend.
I'm interested in Stenhouse always at Bristol. Love Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at Bristol. Remember last year, Chris Buescher, prior to last year, led 0 laps ever at Bristol. And I bet him 125 to 1. I didn't give a shit that he led 0 laps because he was 125 to 1. It's not like Michael McDowell 40 to 1 at Daytona, who's led 1 or 2 laps ever or whatever. 40 and 125 are pretty big differences. Plus, Bristol isn't Daytona. We're not just talking like randomly shuffle things up and then the laps led is approximately what you'd get for race winner. That's not how this happens. It's not like a restrictor plate race where anybody can lead a lap at any time. So I don't look at laps led history as much here. I just look at what you're capable of based off of similar tracks and, of course, your Bristol history itself. But for me, similar tracks, we haven't even talked about this, but what really got me on to Chris Buescher last year was his performance at Richmond and Dover, 2 tracks which change a lot. Richmond and Dover both change a lot. The groove changes, the preferred groove, and Bristol's another one of those tracks that we'll see changing throughout the night, throughout the day and night. I'm not even talking, something like the 600 doesn't even change as much as a Richmond or as a Dover might go. And Dover is interesting because once you have a caution or don't have a caution, whoever gets picked up, put back down, etc. Bristol can be kind of like that too. So plus it's just a style of racing, right? So guys that do well at Dover or at Bristol, either I noticed recently do well at Richmond and Dover, or they're good at steep tracks in general. Your Homesteads, your Darlingtons, your Bristols, your Dovers. So obviously Dover is going to be the number 1 comp for this track. I'm not a guy who's like, let's lump all short tracks together. I don't think Ryan Preece is going to be bad here, but I don't think he's going to be great here. He's a flatter short track guy, right? So I think I'm not a guy that lumps Martinsville with Bristol just because they're both half a mile. Don't do that. They're very different driving styles. You need to use brakes. You need mechanical grip at Martinsville. Bristol, you need to roll the corner and have momentum. So very different driving styles. Don't be using Martinsville for your Bristol analysis. So for me, I'm using, and I'm saying Richmond, which is a shorter, flatter track, but that's more about track changing, keeping up with the track, that kind of thing. There is this talent to that as well. Plus, Richmond is still much more banked than Martinsville, much faster than Martinsville. So for me, Richmond Dover type drivers and then steep track type drivers are the drivers I want to be getting on for this race.
Here's a guy for you that plus 600 for a top 10. Finished 7th here last year. And has
won this race in Xfinity.
Yeah. Guy I don't like. A.J. Allmendinger.
Yeah.
You biting on that at plus 600?
It's weird because we mentioned that. Like, we mentioned A.J. Allmendinger, and he just doesn't seem like a driver that fits the Richmond Dover, nor does he fit the steep track driver. So it's just one of those weird ones for me with Allmendinger, right? Like he did finish 18th at Dover, 27th at Richmond. He's bad at Richmond just in general. Let's look at his other steep tracks. Darlington, he's done really well at both Darlington races this year, I believe. He finished 13th in the most recent one. Earlier this year, 23rd, but I think he's had some other good Darlington finishes, if I remember correctly. Homestead, last year finished 3rd at Homestead. So yeah, I could get behind AJ Allmendinger 6-1 for a top 10.
Plus 650 on 365, so obviously like that a little bit better.
Yeah, I haven't run a model or anything, but I could get behind that. He seems like, yeah, maybe he is a little bit steep track type style, which is interesting because I never thought of him that way. But I always remember he had that, like he and Austin Cindric spun coming to the finish line in Xfinity, so I can't forget that one. With Allmendinger taking the win there, and then I remember his good Darlington finish. So yeah, it kind of looks like. I forgot about him finishing third at Homestead last year. So, yeah, it kind of looks like he had an 8th with JTG at Homestead. He's had a 9th at Bristol. He's with JTG. He has, let's see, I think that's his only top 10 with JTG was that 9th place finish. But, certainly seems like over the years he's developed some steep track skills.
What about his teammate, Justin Haley? Finished 12th last year.
I'm much lower on Justin Haley because he's really coming across as lame duck to me. Mm-hmm. They haven't had a good finish since before the announcement that he's no longer returning. Now he went to Rick Ware. Best finish of 21st. So I think they're trying stuff. I don't even necessarily think they're telling Haley that. They're having him try setups for next year.
True. I hate to be on this. Austin Dillon 8-1. 20 or 31st here last year, but before that, looking at his last 8 Bristol starts, top 15s in 6 of them.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
Plus, we know Rowdy's going to bring some information to that team.
Very good point. Yes. He finished. Austin Dillon finished
like
8th.
Austin Dillon this weekend.
8th in stage 2 last year. I think he wrecked. He got DVP for the 31st place finish.
Let's keep in mind a lot of the guys that do well at Bristol Dirt do well at Bristol Regular as well. They're obviously very different, but they're also similar in that it's the same track. It's obviously a different surface, but we see the Stenhouses, we see the Christopher Bells, we see the Kyle Larsons, we see the Chase Briscoes or Ross Chastain's. Tyler Reddicks, all these guys doing well in Bristol Dirt. They also all do really well on Bristol Regular. So there could be some of that as well. And Austin Dillon finished 3rd at Bristol Dirt earlier this year.
Yeah, I like it. I think I'm going to bet it again. I like it a lot. What about a long shot like Corey LaJoie, 20-1 on Caesars for a top 10 finish?
What's he done here or similar? I couldn't tell you.
I feel like he had some decent speed at similar tracks this year. Pulling it up. He was 15th here last year after starting 31st.
Todd Gillen was 18th last year.
Was he really fast at... Maybe I'm wrong. Where was LaJoie really fast at this year? I could be wrong. Oh, 14th at Dover. He had speed at Dover.
That's right.
20 just stuck out to me as, interesting.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting, honestly. Yeah, I mean, Busch or Keselowski are both really good at Dover, great at Richmond. Both have been great at Homestead recently. I like those RFK guys this weekend. I really do.
You can get Buescher right now for a top 10 at minus 150. You like that?
Yes.
I feel like that's gonna go after qualifying or practice. That's gonna move a bit.
I agree with
that. Let's see here. I don't know. I'm in a betting mood today. I don't know why. Like I said, I bet those head-to-heads. I got some top 10s here.
I bet a whole lot of luck rankings matchups yesterday and today, so I'm like, I've got my bets in. I'm feeling all right. And
I think it's because
oh God, I haven't even bet NASCAR except the one bet this week.
So I had a good Sunday at Kansas, and then last night, the Monday night game, I had Diggs' first touchdown boosted to plus 1150 or 1125 or something, and then I live bet the Jets at plus 575. So I had a good Monday too. It was awesome.
I passed on. I've been trying to bet overtime games this year, games to go to overtime because I found a pretty interesting hedge. I bet 3 games in week 1. None of them went to overtime, but all of them had like legitimate chances to go to overtime late. And then I was like, I'll just hold off on betting a 4th one this week. But the one I was showing value on, the only other one that I was showing more than 15% expected long-term ROI was Jets Bills, and I didn't bet it, and it went into overtime. And so now I'm pissed.
That's funny.
It's not that I didn't trust the model or anything. I was just like, I'll just wait till next week.
Right.
I bet 3, and like we have to custom track that right now in the Action app, and I don't want to give too much work to the team to grade that because I have been told I'm allowed to custom track that particular market. They're working on a new thing where experts may be able to do some custom tracking, so they're testing out with that for me, and then those guys will grade it. Yeah, so I didn't want to give them too much work, and I mean, I could have bet it without tracking it anyway, but just a little annoyed, a little salty about Monday Night Football. But I am on your Vikings plus 7 for Thursday Night Football. Well, I got them plus 7.5, but I still like plus 7.
Don't do it.
It's the number 1 luck ranking game of the week.
I'm just so disappointed with.
There's so much going on there. This is obviously not a football analysis podcast, but it was the first bet I made this week.
I'm honestly surprised my whine about it wasn't DraftKings just absolutely fucking killing NASCAR contests this last week, but we've come to expect it every single.
There's nothing new there. Like, it happens every year. My whine about it would be if you whined about it, because we know it's already one of those things that just happens every year and we expect it. Why are we whining about that if it's just the normal? It's not even the new normal. It's just the same normal.
It looks like they cut it even more this week, like significantly, unless I'm reading this wrong. 200K in the big GPP this week. I forget what it was for sure.
It was 175 last week, so they actually bumped it.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason I thought it was 225. So I always record that in my RotoBaller articles so I can go back and compare year to year for similar races. But yeah. Anybody else you want to talk about? What about a guy like Ty Gibbs? Got any love for him? What about Daniel Suarez, 100-1?
I feel like Suarez is pretty good here. Yeah.
It's interesting to me that he's 100-1 outright, but then his top 10 odds don't correlate with that at all.
Yeah.
I can't believe Austin Dillon's 8-1 top 10, and so is Carson Hocevar.
I do like that. I don't like the Hocevar one as much as I like the Austin Dillon one.
I just bet the Austin Dillon one.
Yeah, Suarez won Dover in Xfinity, 2 third places at Darlington, a win at Homestead in Xfinity, 2nd and a 3rd at Bristol in Xfinity, back 15, 16, 17, all that stuff. So yeah, this is a good. The steep tracks are pretty good for Mr. Daniel Suarez. Let's see. Earlier this year, DNF'd Dover, DNF'd Darlington twice. So he's DNF'd all the steep tracks this year. Has been decent at Bristol Dirt in the past. 10th at Homestead last year. 19th in this race. When he was with JGR, what did he do at Bristol? 15th, 18th, 8th in the second race, and then the first race, 18th, 11th, 8th. Yeah. Plus, it's Daniel Suarez.
Yeah. It's like Chastain. I refuse to bet.
But at least Chastain's good. Like, he's not elite, but he's good.
Right.
Suarez just stinks. I mean, like, you compare the two to each other, it's night and day for 2 years in a row on the same team.
True. Who's your so last week your pick to win was Larson. He obviously led the most laps at Kansas, finished 4th. I had Byron finishing 15th. Who is your pick to win Bristol this weekend? The Food City night race?
Got the old spice, hot spice on this one.
I want to try
this. It's torched peach chipotle kickstand cocktails. Really good. It got me in the back of the throat there a little bit. Who's my pick to win? Is that the question?
Yep.
Mr. 69 himself, Brad Keselowski.
Go with Kez.
Let's go.
I like it. You know what I'm going to do here? Because I am on a cold streak. Like, I had Larson at Darlington. He got the win. I had Reddick at Indy Road Course. He got 4th. But outside of that, 5 of the last 7 races, my winner or my pick to win has not finished better than 15th. So in an effort to help my bets this weekend, this is not a serious pick for anybody not getting what I'm saying here. Martin Truex Jr. wins Bristol. But if he does win, I get credit for this.
I still like
Martin
my
Truex.
I still like my, what was it, like 1% this guy, 99% the other guy pick that one.
1/11th Logano and Truex the rest at Richmond too.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I'm going Truex. I feel like that's just my luck right now. Is I'm so against a guy and he's just gonna come out and fucking blast the field. So, give me Truex. My real pick, if I wasn't like trying to jinx somebody, I think I'd go Kyle Busch this week. I just have this feeling that Kyle Busch is gonna win it, but Truex is my official pick to win. Maybe I'm going to go
Busch would be really good.
I'm going to go 1/11th Kyle Busch. How about that?
I like it. 1/11th Kyle Busch.
But yeah, I think Kyle Busch is going to be really strong, and I'm just excited to see how these playoffs go. I want to see Truex get eliminated so bad. That would make me so happy. Give me like Truex getting eliminated, Logano getting eliminated, both in the first round, something like that, or Chastain. Give me Chastain getting eliminated. Oh,
I want my bets to win. I don't want Truex getting eliminated.
I do. Sorry, I'm rooting against your bets.
Yeah, but you bet him 10-1.
I know, but I only put $25 on it. I don't care if I lose $25 if it's better for the plot if he loses.
I honestly don't even remember what I have. Let me look at my units on that.
I think you had him 16.
I have half a unit on Truex to win the championship at 14-1.
14.
So actually, I'm going to go through my preseason bets real quick. I have half a unit on Truex to win 14-1, the championship. I have a unit on Blaney to have more wins than Logano. A push is a push. Right now they're tied at 1 each. I have Truex 1.15, so minus 115. More end-of-season points than Kyle Busch. So I really need Truex.
Wow.
I mean, it's looked great all year up until this. Until he blew a tire at Kansas.
That goes off of the final point standings, which they reset after each round. So if Truex gets eliminated now, he has no chance of catching Kyle Busch.
No, that's not true. If Kyle Busch doesn't make the Final Four, he gets down there too, and anybody can still compete for 5th.
Oh, okay.
So I would just need Kyle Busch to not make the Final Four then, and see how their playoff points ends up, or their points after the playoffs ends up shaking out. I have 1 unit at plus 130 on Daniel Suarez to have 0 wins. Feeling good about that.
Lock.
Outside of Talladega, yeah. I don't think he's winning the Roval, but it's pretty much seems like a lock outside of Talladega or very outside shot at Roval. Then I have half a unit on William Byron to win the championship at 16-1. So I like that. Honestly, all my bets were really good. All my preseason bets were really good. They all should be winning. Blaney's been better than Logano this year. Obviously, he hasn't had more wins, but at least in terms of expected wins this year, Blaney has had more expected wins. Truex should finish with more points than Kyle Busch, barring that flat tire at Kansas. And, Truex and Byron to win the championship, those prices, with being the two best all season. Love those. And Daniel Suarez, 0 wins. I love that.
Yeah.
Feeling good about those preseason bets.
I like those. I'm really happy as far as championship bets that I was able to get Larson 7-1 before Darlington, because that just immediately, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, yes, give me that. So happy about that. Obviously, I have that Truex, but I'm still kind of rooting for him to. I'm not going to be mad if he advances, but I'm still kind of rooting for it.
I like it. Yeah, Larson 7-1 right before Darlington was a good call.
But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this week's episode. Like I said, next week episode might be delayed today. Right now, the tentative plan is we're going to get Malazzi on and record Wednesday. Depending on when we record Wednesday, it might go up Wednesday night, it might go up Thursday. Just depends. But hopefully he can get on. We can talk about his race at Bristol, his story with Outback, and yeah, good luck to him this weekend or this week at Bristol. The weather looks great, so it doesn't look like the race is going to get postponed. It doesn't look like we're going to have any stupid shit like we did at Martinsville. So hopefully he can.
Plus, they won't be racing in the rain at Bristol. They're not going to do the rain tires at Bristol.
Right.
Should there be a magical sprinkle shower thing? They're not doing that. So, plus, technically nobody's locked into the show in trucks unless you're one of the top couple few. But he's, by running the number 22, it would take the most absolute insane set of catastrophic qualifying events for him to not make it, not be locked in.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I'm heading down to Bristol tomorrow. Can't wait to get there. Can't wait to see the track. That's 2 tracks I'm knocking off my NASCAR list this year. After the only tracks I've been to are Michigan, and before this year were Michigan and Kentucky.
Yep.
And now I've added Martinsville and I'm adding Bristol. So excited for that. Hopefully it's a good race down there. And yeah.
Michigan and Kentucky are 2 of the ones I've never done.
Yeah.
I've done almost, not all of them, but not almost all of them, but I've done a vast majority of them, and Michigan and Kentucky are 2 I have not done.
Mm-hmm. I like
Kentucky's obviously no longer on the schedule, but yeah.
Right. The reason I have gone to Michigan is because it's literally you take a highway like right out of my town straight up, and it brings you right there, and it's so easy to get to, and yeah. And I just like the track itself. I think it's cool.
Bristol's awesome. You're gonna love Bristol. I can promise you that. Not that you didn't. I didn't think you wouldn't, but awesome. A+ experience.
I can't wait. Can't wait to get down there. I don't think I've been that part of the country before.
Give me some signed Malazzi merch, man.
I'll try. I don't know how much merch I have. I just have. What do you want me to get you signed?
Just make him sign a wine bottle or something. I don't care.
Hell yeah.
Make him sign a program or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, buy this. I'll buy this bottle of Purple Rain if you sign it. But yeah. Good luck to everybody with their bets. Hopefully this episode you learned some stuff. Hopefully you got some good bets. I'm really confident in these head-to-heads, and I really like the Austin Dillon top 10. So I'm excited for this weekend's race.
I like it.
And the bets and seeing how this all goes. And Bristol is always a very good race. Hopefully we get some drama like we did last year. And not manufactured drama, but true drama in a real racing fashion. So good luck to everybody this week. We'll be back next week for... What the hell race is next week?
First round of the next thing. Is that Texas?
Is it?
I don't even remember.
We are NASCAR experts. Oh, shit.
Texas, Roval, and... Yeah, Texas, Dega, and Roval next
Texas, round. Yeah, okay. That's an interesting geographical This is also the last Saturday night race of the season. One of the few Saturday night races of the season. But
that actually, yeah, that. Honestly, I'm glad because with NFL, I'd rather these races be on Sunday because if the race is Saturday night, then I'm doing all of my everything on Saturday for NFL and NASCAR. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, I understand that.
And Friday,
well, yeah.
And it's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, after this one, it's Sundays at either 2:30 or 3:30. Roval starts at 2, but pretty much same schedule here on out.
I like it because once I finish all my NFL stuff, then I can just hit NASCAR Sunday or Saturday nights. So that'll work for me.
Yeah, 1 week of hell for you, and then you'll be back to normal schedule.
Yeah, plus all 3 series are running this weekend, so I got to do my Xfinity, my truck projections on somehow squeeze them in on Thursday. Dude, Thursday is ridiculous for me. I don't mean it in a bad way.
And there's a football game. Yeah. So
yeah.
it's
so I have listen to my Thursday. I have Running Hot in the morning, recording with Stevie. Then I have Action Island, which is at 2:15 Pacific, so that's 5:15 Eastern. Ends at 6 Eastern, so 3 Pacific, which is like, I believe truck qualifying ends around 5 something. So I will be doing Action Island for the first half hour after truck qualifying has ended. And then the truck race is that night, but also NFL is that night. So I have to prepare trucks in the time I would normally be preparing NFL for my live NFL show. So I'm going to have to figure out when the hell I'm preparing my live NFL show.
I am not jealous of your schedule. That sounds awful.
Yeah, my Thursday's going to be brutal.
I will be at Bristol preparing to watch the race during that time.
Hence why I will not be at Bristol.
I'll send you a picture of myself drinking a beer.
Hell yeah. I mean, I'll probably be drinking a beer when I'm prepping NASCAR. But yeah, just one because I have to do a live show that night.
Yeah. All right. It's time to sign off. We'll talk to you guys next week.
We'll see you.